American consultant and philosopher Peter Drucker says that the greatest danger in the time of turbulence is not the turbulence, it's the way we act with yesterday's logic. Hi, my name is Sulabh and I'll be discussing about my understanding of critical social work, its importance, my social location, how it impacts my perspective, and the existence of power, privilege, and oppression in society. My understanding of critical social work is that critical social work is an umbrella term for all the modern approaches in social work. It questions, addresses, and challenges the existing norms, inequalities, and injustices that benefits the privileged groups by limiting the ability of underprivileged groups to meet their basic needs. Critical social work demands social workers to be critical of such social arrangements by acknowledging their existing inequalities and work for change by promoting equality through equity and liberation. Where traditional social work focuses on individuals and ignores the structural context and its impact, critical social work, on the other hand, traces problem to cause within the social structures, power dynamic, and social inequalities. This approach is highly crucial in contemporary social work. The modern society is built on the basis of complex interplay of various dynamic social relations such as globalization, capitalism, political structures, and discourses, creating privilege, power, and oppression. Critical social work acknowledges these discourses, encourages critical reflection, and acknowledges the intersectionality of various social location of one in society, which is responsible for the power, privilege, and oppression faced by them. As per Baines, social location refers to our self-identification of where we stand in society, reflecting on various factors like gender, race, ethnicity, social class, nationality, sex, orientation, disability, and language. The social location determines the privilege and oppression faced by one person in society. In my scenario, my social location is shaped by various factors. I am an international student, a heterosexual man of color, and English is not my first language. As of now, I live here independently in Melbourne, far away from my culture, family, and cultural background. My culture and language is not the norm in society, and these are the areas that are denying my privilege. However, I'm also privileged to be living in city area, having a fully functioning body and a sound mental health. Back home, I was living with my family members. My culture and language were the norm of the society. Those were the areas where I was privileged. However, the quality of healthcare and education that I received was not good as compared to here. My social isolation back home in here gave me mixed feeling of privilege and oppression. Back in Nepal, I was privileged enough to have the language and culture I hold as the norm of the society. I was privileged enough to live with a family who guided and supported me enough to shape my future. I never realized how privileged it was until I moved here to Australia and started living alone, independently by myself. Then I realized the oppression faced by people who never had the place to call their home. Likewise, the cultural differences and social norms of society in Melbourne was totally different from Nepal. It was a bit hard for me to navigate, understand, and settle here. English was not a first language here, so Australia made it hard for me to settle here. Although Australia is a multicultural, multilingual, and multi-ethnic country, it was hard to fit in and deal with social isolation. I was homesick for a few months. As English was not the first language, I found it difficult to understand the accents and lingos in Australia. However, there were certain factors where I felt privileged. I was living in a city area, I was heterosexual male and have fully functioning body and a sound mental health, which was considered to be a norm in Australian society. This is a privilege that people from LGBTQ community, disability and mental health problems may lack in society. My view of world is highly based on my understanding of my social location and where I stand in society. I'm highly conscious of how cultural differences, being from minority and living independently, affects the way you understand and view the society. This will have an impact on my future practice as a social worker. I think my lived experiences of living independently, being an immigrant and a person with color, and being from a culturally different background will make me highly empathetic towards immigrant clients. I think I'll be able to empathically relate more with the client who will be facing the same situation that I am facing right now. I'll be more conscious about how hard it is to adjust in a society when English is not your first language. I'll understand the hardship that a person has to go through of not being able to live with family and community. However, I will also critically reflect on my privilege of having better healthcare and education facilities and advocate for those who has no access to such resources. I think living in Australia will build a unique cultural perspective in me and make me more culturally sensitive and respectful towards acknowledging everyone's culture. As now I understand that having a good mental health and fully able body is a privilege, I will advocate for better mental health policy, accessibility and support system for people with mental health problems, and disabilities. As I reflect on my understanding about privilege and power, I feel that it is important for everyone, especially social workers, to be aware of the power that they hold. As a social worker, we hold the power of authority that can create a huge impact on client's life. There will always be power difference between us and the client we work with. As per Thompson and Foucault, instead of power over and power to, social workers should try to be in power with the client by exercising collective power, solidarity, and teamwork. I also understand that privilege and operation are contradictory to each other and does not exist in absence of each other. Most of those who have privilege are unaware of the privilege they receive, as privilege they receive are said to be the norm in the society that they live. As Harry Broad says in his book Men's Life, privilege is not something that you can refuse to take. It is given to us by society if we have characteristics that society considers to be a norm, such as being a heterosexual male, white male, or a non-disabled person. We live in a society where privileges are standard for measurement. And American sociologist Michael Kimmel says that privilege is invisible to those who have it. Hence, we should all collectively work towards not just studying operation and its impact, but also towards making privilege visible and addressing it to create equality and liberation. Thank you.